Hello, my name is Rabbi Deborah Brin. I'm Rabbi Emerita of Nachalat Shalom and part of the rabbinic team there now. This Shabbat is a special Shabbat. It's called Shabbat Mevorchim because we announced during services that the new month of Sivan will be starting Saturday night after sunset. It is also a Shabbat of movement. We are not only about to start a new month, we are in the period of time where we are moving from Pesach, Passover, to Shavuot. We are moving from the holiday of our liberation to the holiday of revelation. Shavuot begins on Thursday night, the 28th. There will be a community celebration of Shavuot hosted by Congregation B'nai Israel, along with Congregation Albert and Nachalat Shalom. Check B'nai Israel's website or the Federation calendar to find information on how to zoom into the learning sessions that will be going on. It's also a special Shabbat because this year it is the Shabbat before Memorial Day, where we remember the men and women in uniform who have died while serving in our armed forces. This week's Torah reading is from the very beginning of the book of Numbers. That is the name of the book in English, derived from the Greek and Latin, because one of the repeating topics in this book is the taking of the census. The instructions for the census described in chapter 1, verses 2 and 3, are that every male Israelite from the age of 20 on up shall be counted because they are the ones who are old enough to bear arms, to go to war if needed. The Hebrew name of the book is Bamidbar, in the wilderness. It is during our sojourn in the wilderness that we rebel against the leadership of Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. Indeed, it is during our travels that the generation that experienced the exodus from ancient Egypt dies off in the wilderness. Our leaders also died, and the new generation that never knew slavery was raised up, and Joshua was appointed as the successor to Moses. The book of Numbers, Bamidbar, marks a dramatic shift in societal structures. No longer does one person control the destiny of everyone in his family and household, as was the case with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now we are a tribal society with heads of the tribes called princes. When we journey through the wilderness, as we reportedly did for 40 years, we moved in military style by tribes, each with its own flag, and when we slept at night, we camped with the tribes, each arrayed in a particular pattern, with the Mishkan, the portable sanctuary, in the middle. This Torah portion and the placement of this Shabbat in the Hebrew as well as the Gregorian calendar can teach us several things of relevance for us today. It is the time of the census for the U.S. government. In the biblical period, it only counted men 20 years old or older. Don't forget to fill out your census forms so you can count. We still struggle with the question of who counts in our society. There are many among us, especially in New Mexico, who are frightened to fill out the census forms because they fear they will be tracked and deported. Do you think their fears are baseless? The U.S. holiday of Memorial Day remembers those who died in uniform. For those of us who lived through the Vietnam War, we watched as the death toll in the United States from the coronavirus approached the number of U.S. deaths in the Vietnam War. Now the number in the United States has almost doubled and is rising. Let us consider expanding this holiday to include everyone who has died from the coronavirus, not just here, but all over the world. The Northside Chicago Quaker meeting has called for just that. Just a few days ago, they called for a national day of mourning to take place on Memorial Day. In a letter that is circulating the internet, they said, quote, "There has been no call from the United States government for a day of mourning to acknowledge the grief and loss caused by the pandemic thus far. As people of faith, it falls to us." They also suggested that on Monday, quote, at sundown, wherever you live, light a candle and step outside and hold a moment of silence for what we have lost together, end quote. When we journeyed for 40 years in the wilderness, we met and survived many challenges. We survived the exodus from ancient Egypt. We survived plagues and rebellions. We survived food insecurity and the lack of fresh water. Our leadership changed, and the elders died off, and the younger generations took over. Survival created opportunities for our ancestors. The coronavirus will probably be with us for a long time. Surviving it will create opportunities. The virus is just a virus, and it has shown us where many of the deep cracks are in our society. What is our collective vision for our society? What are the leadership changes and structural changes that need to take place for us to correct the life-threatening inequities that we are seeing and to create a truly just, equitable, and egalitarian society? When we exercise our right to vote in the upcoming primaries or national elections, we keep the pathway of democracy in good repair. Voting matters. We are about to celebrate the receiving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. Our sages taught us that the Torah was freely given to all of us at once. It is not the province of an elite group of scholars or leaders. We all have access to its teaching and its wisdom. This Shavuot, may we each find the teaching, the inspiration, and the wisdom that we need to turn this crisis into an opportunity for growth and change, beginning with ourselves and encompassing the global community, the entire earth, and especially our ecosphere. Shabbat Shalom.